Hello everyone, and I'd like to thank OneWelfare World for the opportunity to discuss how the International Coalition for Working with Equids, ICWI, are partnering to meet equid needs and against the OneWelfare and OneHealth agendas. My name is Frances Goodrum, and I oversee external affairs at Brooke Action for Working Horses and Donkeys. I'll be presenting alongside my colleague, Dr. Laura Skippon, who oversees our global animal health work. But today we represent ICWI, a coalition comprised of leading working animal NGOs, Brooke, Spana, Donkey Country, and World Horse Welfare. Next slide, please. To set the scene, I'd first like to explain more about our beneficiary, working equids. Working equids are horses, donkeys, and mules that work alongside people in some of the world's most marginalised communities. They are integral to agriculture, collecting water, transporting goods and people, and also in construction. They are particularly important to women as they often help with chores within the home that would otherwise fall to women and girls. Having a donkey directly correlates to girls remaining in education. There are just over 100 million working equids, supporting more than 600 million people across the globe. They are critical to the attainment of the Sustainable Development Goals and within a wider OneWelfare agenda that respects the links between people, animals, and our environment. I'll now hand over to Laura to explain more about our work.
So as mentioned by Frances, ICWI is comprised of the four leading working animal NGOs, Brooke Action for Working Horses and Donkeys, Spana, the Society for Protection of Animals Abroad, the Donkey Sanctuary, and World Horse Welfare. These organisations were originally part of a World Animal Health Organisation, the OIE ad hoc working group, developing standards for working equid welfare, which have become Chapter 7.12 of the Terrestrial Animal Health Code. This chapter is the first global policy focusing on working equids, donkeys, horses, and mules specifically. These standards focus on key aspects of their lives and working condition and the responsibilities of different agencies in this. Recommendations relate to food and water provision, shelter, prevention and treatment of disease and injury, handling and management practices, and workloads. The coalition was established after the standards were improved in 2016 in order to assist member countries in the implementation of these standards, and the following few slides will demonstrate what ICWI has done to support OIE member states to date with both the standards and issues relating to equine welfare as they've arisen. We've also built a library of supplementary information to support governments in implementing and regulating the chapter, and we're looking forward to launching this in the near future. How do working equids fit in the OneWelfare framework, which sees human and animal welfare as inextricably linked? In a development context, working animals are central to supporting the livelihoods, well-being and resilience of communities who depend on them. For instance, with regards to food security, working livestock play a central role in agriculture and food production, including soil tillage, producing manure fertiliser, transport of feed and water for livestock and households, transporting goods to market and transporting livestock to health providers. So working equids provide critical health and welfare support, both to the families they live with and their other livestock. The brick kiln industry, which is demonstrated here on the right in this diagram, is another area which clearly demonstrates the importance of working equids as part of a OneHealth, OneWelfare approach, as these concepts provide a really strong framework for integrated action to tackle the problems faced by people working in brick kilns, living below the poverty line, who rely upon their animals to earn a livelihood in environmental conditions that are as harsh for both people and animals and extremely detrimental for the wider climate, with toxic emissions from kilns being inhaled by people and animals working there. The OIE invited ICWI to contribute to their regional animal welfare focal point meetings, and ICWI attended as part of 3 of these in Africa, Americas region, and the Asia Pacific region. In Lesotho and Brazil, we were able to combine, including practical sessions in the field, where OIE animal welfare focal points were introduced to welfare appraisal in working equids. Each workshop also included case studies tailored to the regional context, including the donkey skin trade in Africa and Brazil, and as mentioned, the brick kilns in Asia. ICWI has also been asked for assistance on a more ad hoc basis as situations have arisen. In March 2020, there was an outbreak of African horse sickness in Thailand, which the government promptly reported to the OIE and requested assistance in tackling. ICWI was asked by the OIE to support the regional response, as Thailand was dealing very efficiently with the problem within the country. ICWI and local partners advised on how to contact and work with working equid-owning communities and produced a series of posters for low literate areas, raising the profile of the disease in the region, one of which you can see on the left. Each organisation also worked with local contacts in the area. For instance, World Horse Welfare helped build shelters in Cambodia to protect working equids from infection. ICWI also participated in OIE organised webinars for the region, and we had a representative on the group designing a manual on vaccination and eradication of disease, ensuring animal welfare in full was given priority. Whilst African horse sickness is not a zoonosis, it is highly fatal to horses, donkeys, and mules. With a lucrative sports horse industry in the region, there was a risk that the introduction of control measures that are feasible in leisure horses would have made it impossible for working equids and their owners to continue to earn a livelihood. For instance, horses should be stable behind expensive mesh netting for large portions of the day, which would have been both costly to implement and have removed their ability to work. Advice from ICWI and the local organisations that ICWI members work with ensured that control and prevention measures were affordable and acceptable for owners, whilst balancing the critical need to maintain welfare standards and prevent the spread of the disease. Working in partnership means that each organisation brought their own strengths, and when responding to something as time critical as a disease outbreak, it allowed the workload to be spread. Following our contribution to both the African horse sickness outbreak and an equine influenza outbreak in West Africa in 2019, ICWI have been working on producing videos and advice for working equid owners on zoonoses, in particular recently glanders, where there's been an outbreak in Nepal, and on reducing disease spread in general. Prevention of disease contributes to OneHealth and OneWelfare by reducing the need for antimicrobials, reducing loss of work and earnings for owners, and reducing the risk of zoonotic disease spread.
Building on the points Laura has shared, I'll now expand on how we are raising the visibility of working equids in global policy forums and against the OneWelfare agenda. Firstly, we use our organisational strengths and networks to develop opportunities to work together. For example, Brooke has consultative status with UN ECOSOC, which means we can apply for joint events at the UN High-Level Political Forum. We come together as ICWI regularly at such events to deliver joint messaging. We ensure our events are backed with joint materials, bringing the challenges equids face to different forums. For example, Agenda 2030, pictured here, was developed a couple of years ago to showcase how the welfare of working equids animals deliver for development. It is deeply mindful of the OneWelfare approach, making the case that working animals need better protection as crucial enablers of food security, poverty reduction, and to support resilience. We also stayed true to our initial focus as ICWI, pooling efforts at the OIE General Assembly. At the 2019 Assembly, we used a virtual reality film Brooke prepared to illustrate life in a brick kiln in Pakistan at the ICWI stand. Over 200 delegates took an immersive dive into the harsh reality of kilns where humans and animals work side by side. We invited delegates to reach out to ICWI organisations for technical guidance on the many OneWelfare challenges and solutions we witness in industry settings. Next slide, please. So that was a snapshot of some of our joint lobbying work. And to finish off, I want to reflect on how we keep the momentum going. Firstly, we have a detailed terms of reference and work plan, which we update annually, so we're clear on what we're working on together. And we also have a rotating chair to support regular meetings. We have an integrated approach with our organisational press functions connecting, so we can amplify our messaging to many audiences. The top picture, for example, is from a workshop in 2019 as part of the 7th Pan Commonwealth Veterinary Conference held in Bangalore. This focused on the critical role of working equids, welfare issues in brick kilns, community programmes, and the training of vets in animal welfare. We work with our press teams to put out our story on our own sites and also ICWI site, amplifying our policy message to a much bigger audience. We have found it's critical to have clarity on areas of joint positioning and regularly reflect back from our terms of reference, so work is both strategic and manageable. Finally, working in partnership requires energy, empathy, and respect, and it's been a really great journey so far as ICWI. To conclude, recognising the link between planetary health and animals through the OneHealth and OneWelfare filters provides a solid baseline for integrated action and messaging ICWI can continue to promote. We will continue to call on governments and agencies to recognise and address equid welfare in policy together. We're really grateful to share our story today of ICWI's collaboration in the spirit of OneWelfare. Please go to our website on this slide here if you want to know more. And thank you for listening.